We always focus first and foremost on multiplying bottom line because it's a lot easier, faster, safer than top. But you start with the 3 ways to grow a business model. How many ways can you get more clients? How much ethically can you get that client to be worth more? How much more repeat, residual, or utility value can there be? Then we go through the 9 drivers. There's about 9 categories of changes that can improve your bottom line, and they're not all these things that are out there. They're internal things, and I got about 30 of them. We go through preeminence, we go through just all the things you've already known about. And so my answer to you probably isn't straightforward. When I've been on a couple of the clubhouses, including one with you, Bill, I get very troubled because someone will ask a question and then an expert, a lot of them self-anointed, will go, okay, well, here's what you do. But they're not really verifying and validating the assumption. So you got to start, is the assumption correct? Because if the assumption is wrong, Bill, everything that flows from it is wrong.
This is going to be amazing. You got a lot of people on this call today.
I think the biggest miss that people make in terms of selling.
And that's what a good marketing message, good branding does.
How does somebody do something big in a very short period of time?
I am absolutely excited right now to introduce the man, I think he's probably $1 trillion man, but on the internet, it says 22 billion. So I'm really excited to introduce Jay. One thing the first question I wanted to ask, just to keep us super focused today, I want to ask kind of an open-ended question and see kind of where your brain goes with this. The first question I have is, a lot of people are having opportunity fatigue right now. A lot of different routes you could take by doing, virtual hybrid events or, going all in on Clubhouse and all these like trending things happening and people trying to decide what to go all in on. So I wanted to start by asking you a zoomed out question as to what is your opinion, what is the highest value action in a business?
So when I work with a client, I teach them optimization, highest and best use theory. Pardon my voice. This is early for me. Highest and best use of time, effort, opportunity, access to market, capital, intellectual capital, relationship capital. But the problem with most people, Bill, and with your audience, is you can't really optimize until and unless you have a construct or a concept of not everything, but of the various options, possibilities, and alternatives possible, which is your concept of opportunity fatigue. Great word. But then you've got to correlate them to 3 other things: ease of implementation, yield, and yield has to be determined 3 ways: current, future, and what it might do to the asset. I always try to get my clients to do things that are relatively rapid wins that are easy for 2 reasons. One, the wins reinforce their willingness to keep expanding and experimenting and innovating. Number 2, the wins produce the windfall newfound capital that will fund different experiments so they don't have to take it out of cash flow or reserves or capital. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong, but you have to decide depending on your business. And I heard you say that it's no longer just attorneys, but you have to, what's going to serve current income, what's going to serve and lock in future income, what's going to help if you're trying to build an asset, and some people are just lifestyle, what's going to make that asset grow. Then you look at all the opportunities possible, and there are a dizzying array. What we do, and you probably know this, Bill, we have, and I've taken my methodology to a more, I guess I would call it, a pragmatic way. We have like 30 categories of what I call exponential or beyond exponential profit increases. And we always focus first and foremost on multiplying bottom line because it's a lot easier, faster, safer than top. But you start with the 3 ways to grow a business model. How many ways can you get more clients? How much ethically can you get that client to be worth more? How much more repeat, residual, or utility value can there be? Then we go through the 9 drivers. There's about 9 categories of changes that can improve your bottom line. And they're not all these things that are out there. They're internal things. And I got about 30 of them. We go through preeminence. We go through, just all the things you've already known about. And so my answer to you probably isn't straightforward. When I've been on a couple of the clubhouses, including one with you, Bill, I get very troubled because someone will ask a question and then an expert, a lot of them self-anointed, will go, okay, well, here's what you do. But they're not really verifying and validating the assumption. So you got to start, is the assumption correct? Because if the assumption is wrong, Bill, everything that flows from it is wrong. And I don't know if I'm talking too fast. That's what happens when I've been up for a little while and had too much coffee. When the assumption is wrong, everything flows from it. If you don't know the highest and best use of time, effort, opportunity cost, if you don't project out, this might have a much higher risk or timeline. I haven't figured out Clubhouse. People like yourself are on it a lot. I tend right now to be less accessible because for me, I don't think being all over it is good for the more elevated sort of, I don't want to use the word mythical, but the brand stature. If I'm on every day and I'm doing this when I charge people, 15, 25, 35 grand a month, just plus a piece of the upside, it's not congruent, but it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. There's a lot of cool ways when we help people, really frankly, the first and the foremost, if it is ethical, legal, we always default first to who's already got access to our audience. How can we structure a relationship where they either endorse us, partner with us, recommend us, refer us, make us part of their recommended vendor? Because when you do that, you plug into all the cumulative goodwill and trust.
So, I mean, here's some of the interesting things you just brought up is you went back to the 3 ways to grow a business very quickly. You get more customers, you can, charge more, right? Or you can get repurchases, right?
Well, you can not just charge more, you can package more depending on the business. You don't have to just charge more. You charge more because you make the purchase either more premium or you make it have more combinations or a larger size. But there are many ways and many, not just non-professional, but professional businesses that you can pack ethically other things in that serve the client well, but double or triple, not necessarily the revenue, but the profit that the relationship transaction yields. And you have to ask yourself, because I'm trying to dump a lot of things because I know I'm not going to be on very much and I want to be very sharing. Most entrepreneurs and professionals, Bill, are what I call 2D thinkers. They think in terms of revenue minus expense equal profit. If you're a 3D thinker, you take it one gradient more. You think in terms of yield. What's the residual effect? What's the strategic effect? What's the referral effect? What's the repurchase effect? And some businesses, some practices don't have that as a consideration. But if you have regular businesses on, it should always be a consideration, because even if you only sell one thing, if you have a trusted relationship with a profile of buyer, you can easily and always find some related thing to market to them that you can partner with somebody or get access to, or private label, or you can take the totality of the person. I mean, we did for people in the restaurant tours who were closed down. We showed them that they had very, very trusted relationships, the personality in the restaurant, with high level people that were spending, $300, $400, $500 a night, and they could introduce those people to other luxury jewelry, cars, and they did, and it worked. So I'm giving you a lot. You can distill it now. I'm going to shut up and drink.
No, I mean,
drink alcohol, drink coffee.
This is really, really good. So who's already got access to my market was a key question you said. And also, the concept of packaging, right? You also brought up. So, and then you brought up the concept of 3D thinking rather than 2D thinking. So I'm curious, and I had other questions, but I'm genuinely curious, what is your habit for finding for allowing 3D ideas to come to fruition? Maybe, is there like a journaling habit that you have, or is there a
But
way?
there is a process, and I'll go through that and remind me to talk about, because I think I have with you before, but windows of opportunity, because it'll apply to everybody in there before I'm off your schedule, because it's pretty cool. So anybody who knows my background, I got started very young. I'm not formally educated. And I was a business transient because nobody gave me a real salary. I got opportunities to, eat what I killed, so to speak. And because I wasn't relegated to an 8 to 5, I was able to do lots of things concurrently. And when something didn't work relatively rapidly, I would jump, because I had 2 kids at 20 and it was in the need of somebody 40 and nobody cared. I jumped not to different jobs in the same field, but typically to totally different industries. After about 10 industries, I realized very quickly people in one industry do not have a clue how other people think, act, transact. They don't understand the strategy, the business model, monetization approaches, value creations, access vehicle, distribution channels. And I was able to take very simplistic, common as dirt concepts from industries I'd been in, combine them into hybrids, and take them to industries where everybody did something the same way, sort of, follow the herd, and they just exploded. Now, as I got older, I realized that accidental process produced enormously expansive 3D exponential, nonlinear possibility and massive superiority thinking. So I made it my point. Now I've done over 1,000 industries. I go out of my way to learn everything I can about everything I can outside what I do. I want to take understandings of all kinds of other things and evaluate and pass it a sort of a lens over what my beliefs are now. The problem with most people is the old adage about carpenter, to a carpenter, everything's a hammer and a nail. And I'll give you one more answer. You can keep trying to get Rorschach on me. I have a very strong, I was on the phone yesterday with guys at Inc. talking about doing an article, and they were looking for a fun thing for me to do. And I said, I have a very strong belief that the concept of, of best practices is very flawed. And it's flawed because it's best practices from the 1 or 2 industries that are doing it. And if you think about it, all it is the best linear way to get an incremental gain. It's not the best practice that's going to explode your performance for less
Could you
risk.
say that again? Could you just say that last sentence again? That was really good.
I don't know what I said. I said it's the best. Normally best practices are relegated to 1 or 2 related industries. They are the best linear performance enhancers. They are not the best exponential performance options and alternatives. Those frequently come from outside. So now to your answer, when I used to do seminars, and we used to do very extensive and expensive ones when I was younger, we would go to bookstores when they existed. I'm dating myself, and we would get 800, because we'd have 800 to 1,000 people, 800 either closeout books or magazines on nonfiction topics, business, sports, hobbies, yeah, anything like that. Then we would have our staff literally individually query each attendee at a break and find out what their skill and their hobby was. And we would give them something related to the opposite. So if you said, Bill, I love working on classic cars and I own 3 of them, I would give you either a magazine or a book on macrame or cake decorating. And we would send you to the lobby or your room for 2 hours to read at least 2 articles or two chapters, come back and present to your group, because they were in group tables. One really great distinction you got that not only was fascinating, but directly or indirectly could be adapted and adopted to what you did. And almost everybody was able to do that. What I used to do when I did other programs was tell people before COVID, no matter where you live, unless it's a very small city, there are hotels that are always having seminars, conferences, selling seminars, clinics. If you on a Saturday or Sunday or an afternoon walk into those conference hotels and walk to some of those and ask to sit in the back room, you will learn about so many other realities going on right now. And then at the breaks, you can talk to the people and say, tell me about your industry. Tell me how it sells. Tell me what your selling model is. Tell me what your strategy is. Most people, by the way, don't have a strategy. They're tactical. I'm trying to load you with concepts you can then play back to me, Bill.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, this is, I mean, you're going exactly beyond where I expected this to go, because you're talking about the key principles. My questions, quite frankly, half of them were tactics. So I love where you're going with this. A huge takeaway from what you just said under your breath was best practices produce linear returns, not exponential, right? And that's why looking for strategies from other industries, which are not best practices in the current industry most people are in, is where all the opportunity is. Would you agree with that?
I would not only agree with it, I would say that that's almost an absolute. I don't have, my brain is steeped in easily referenceable past things that I used to talk about. There's probably tons that are current, but things, if you look at where great breakthroughs come from, they very, very rarely come from inside an industry. As Bill said, and I'll reparaphrase, they come from outside. A couple of examples. For years, the big technological breakthrough was fiber optics for telecommunications. Fiber optics was not created in the telecommunications industry. It came from aerospace and was extrapolated. Federal Express, DHL, all the overnight delivery services would not be here if Fred Smith from FedEx didn't borrow what's called the spoke and hub check clearing process the Federal Reserve Bank uses to get a check cleared overnight so that people can't really take advantage and check kite. Rogaine came from pimples, Viagra came from heart, the ballpoint pen or the roll-on deodorant was borrowed from each other, go on and on. But if you stay following your herd, all you're going to do is plus or minus 30, 40% be better or worse.